We've got 2 race weekends to go in this F125 My Team Career Mode, and this move last time out at the Las Vegas Grand Prix may just be the reason there is a fighting chance for us to still win the Drivers' Championship. 4 overtakes in one foul swoop into turn 1 and seeing through the victory after a chaotic Vegas GP. Wasn't straightforward. There was a lot in between those 2 clips, and I implore you to go check out the last video to see how it all shaked out. But we took the victory in Vegas driving as Charles Leclerc, and means there is a bit of hope with 2 rounds left. There are 10 points in it. Lando Norris still leads the way though in the Mercedes. Tramnit some ways off, but we are now swapping from driving as Leclerc to Tramnit, of course. It's a sprint weekend as well, so there's going to be a few more possibilities of some points. So there's an outside chance. We have to hope for a miracle today and, you know, drive the socks off this car to get Tramnit back in the fight for the finale, because 2v1 will be much better in Abu Dhabi. Could be a little bit more tense and a little bit more awkward in a sense, because we'll obviously only be able to drive as one of the drivers, and that will be Leclerc because of keeping it fair of every other race and having it 50-50 for the entire season. But I think that will also be the most interesting thing we can try and get. But whether we can actually pull that off remains to be seen. We need to literally aim for winning the sprint and the Grand Prix, plus hoping Norris and Leclerc are down the order. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, if we're going well, then we can assume Leclerc's going to go well. And obviously Norris, I mean, he's been on an absolute flyer. You know, 3 wins in the last 5 races. You know, podium in Vegas as well. Obviously had Baku, which was an odd one out. But, you know, Brazil then came back straight away. So, you know, even when there's been that moment in Baku where we felt, oh, this is massive, we've just got right back into it, he slammed the door shut in Sao Paulo, and we had to work hard in Vegas just to bring it back to an okay sort of point where I still have some hope, but there's still so much work to do in this episode and the next. And speaking of work to do, there is work to do to developing and adapting as many of these aero parts as we can for the regulation change. Obviously with the patch, this regulation change has been brought to us a lot later, so it probably is impossible to adapt every single aero part here, but I'm trying my best. I'm going for the more expensive ones because I think logically those are the bigger upgrades, like the ultimate and the major upgrades, and so it'll be less of an issue if the minor upgrades are, you know, reset into next season basically. But yeah, we're going to switch over to, well, the current reigning champion, remember, our world champion Tim Tramnit, and try and see if we can get him back into the fight in time for the final race. Let's go to Qatar.
Today is all about the rhythm, all about the flow, because it's qualifying in Qatar. We're under the floodlights for a high-speed test that will set the grid for tomorrow. Wherever you are in the world, you're very welcome.
Going into sprint quali, it's going to be effectively almost like a one-shot, because there's going to be no time to really go again, and the tyres to go again, because we only get 1 set of soft tyres, as we're back in our usual colours of the white, red and black here of Aarava Porsche Racing. But appreciate all the love you guys showed to the special last one-off livery, the Dua Lipa Rennstall livery. It was a lot of fun to adapt that one from the real-life counterpart, and I'm so glad a lot of you guys really enjoyed that, as we now go into the final corner on the one and only flying lap here to see how we fare for the sprint grid. 3rd place at the moment, still some laps to come in, and by the end it actually still will be 3rd place. Leclerc matches us, showing there is some genuine pace there, but Verstappen is on top. Lawson showing Honda are genuinely strong. They've been right up there for the last few races, but what's happened to Mercedes? This is a big thing for us. Lando Norris, P13 only. Sainz 10th. Where has the pace gone for Mercedes? To be fair, we've seen this a few times where they've not qualified well, but then that car is so good in races. Let's see if it's enough in the sprint to come back in such a short amount of time. But that's a big gimme. I mean, there's not massive points on offer though in the sprint, remember, but it's a good start. It's the most ideal start we could have hoped for in this race weekend. But a real surprise. I mean, those lap times, again, you know, there's some huge discrepancies, so it's so confusing, really, on this game with quali. Like, quali just doesn't make any sense, and so I feel like it's just a luck of the draw, and so we've got very lucky there with our title rival just coming up short with the qualifying simulation as we go into the sprint then, looking to maximize points, and then kind of maybe getting inkling of how the pace might be on the medium. Others opting for the soft tyre, though, so already you may be getting the hints that we might have a tyre wear issue here, because Leclerc has also chosen the medium as we're underway for the sprint in Qatar. 10 laps ahead. It's a so-so getaway, but then the second phase, we use enough battery to power past Lawson. Yellow flags behind, bit of contact. Verstappen leads the way, then there's a red flag. Red flag early doors, and it's another Renault disaster. Oh, they're going to be protesting that in France. They're going to be saying sacre bleu. Absolutely horrendous time Renault are having as of late. It's another double DNF. They just can't stop having civil war with each other, clearly, as now we've got a tyre choice, and I'm actually going to swap over to the soft tyre, because now we're going to start on lap 3, so only 7 laps. We can definitely take a soft tyre 7 laps, so we go to lights out again. This time, we're now technically on the new front row, second place. There's a chance to get into the lead now as we get underway again. Look at Verstappen's AI, though, coming across to block us. Lawson might try and go on the left, but we're going to force our way through on that side of the track, go around the outside and get Verstappen for P1. Warning for collision, although I didn't feel like we made any contact with him, but it's all fine, it's all fine. No damage to the car, and we will remain in first place. I think Leclerc has still opted to stay on a medium tyre, so Leclerc's AI really not confident in this car's ability to save tyres, which is maybe a bit concerning for the full Grand Prix to come, especially because Leclerc's AI, obviously 99 rated, and he's been on smoke as of late. You know, last 5 rounds, he's been really solid as an AI teammate, but that's a bit concerning if his logic is no, the tyre weight's too high for him. Even in a 7-lap sprint, that's a sprint of a sprint, basically. As you saw, we did get overtaken by 2 cars here of Lawson and Verstappen, but I didn't really bother fighting it too much, because Qatar is one of those places where if you do have genuine pace with the people you're fighting, you can easily just swap back and forth on that main straight. We've got Verstappen. A little bit of contact was made, though, as we're getting a little bit argy-bargy. Obviously, the sprint, you know, everyone's on high alert. There's only a couple of laps, really, to get stuff done, so I feel the aggression is a bit higher than it would be in a full Grand Prix on full tank of fuel, as we now close on Lawson. He holds the fastest lap of the sprint so far, but what did I say? You know, we're on pace, clearly, with Lawson, with Verstappen, and so we're able to come back with DRS. Meanwhile, Lando Norris, P12 only, looking to get Albon to get up into P11, but points available only for the top 8 in the sprint, of course, and I mean, it's hard to tell. It's a sprint, so, you know, this isn't going to be an indication of race pace, but Leclerc is down in P8, and he's catching up to Sainz now, though, but because he's on the mediums, that's why Leclerc fell away, really. I'm still baffled why he didn't switch to the soft in the same way we did. He makes the overtake on Sainz, so, you know, that's at least maybe promising. He's overtaken a Mercedes car, so hopefully we show the same sort of thing in the main Grand Prix. That's what we need, and this is what we need from ourselves, leading the way in P1, but it's not an easy P1, because Piastri now actually is the car right up my chuff. Lawson, Verstappen in tandem, you know, it's a 4-car train, and we're all separated by a couple of tenths to one another, so the pressure is there, and so I think in the race, in the full Grand Prix, we are going to have some serious competition. You know, tyre wear's now kicked in, you can see the orange icon, so I dread the tyre wear. I dread, you know, are we going to have to do a 2-stop, and will others be able to pull off a 1? Those are the questions I have. I should be really happy with the sprint win. I am happy, but there are some concerning signs there of how our long pace can go in a full Grand Prix, but we have to be happy with that. P1, you know, that's 8 points on the board. Norris scored 0. Norris with 0 points there. Leclerc only 2. So, you know, obviously we're in the shoes of Tramnitz, this is. So I'm speaking in terms of in the shoes of Tramnitz. That was the most ideal thing ever, really, because we gained 8 points fully on the championship leader, and on our teammate that we were, you know, down to in the standings, we've gained 6 points, which is, you know, 1 point off, you know, getting the same amount of points you would get for a win to second place. So happy days in that regard, but I think we're going to see some stiff competition from Red Bull, Honda, and McLaren, and, well, I'm curious to see what Mercedes can do here, because You know, this has happened before where they've had a bit of a bad sprint and then they've turned it around in the full race, or just generally in the last third of the season. This Mercedes car has been a rocket ship in the races, but Qatar is very difficult to overtake at. So let's see. But the gap is now 8 points from Lando to Leclerc, and it's 25 to Tramnitz. So if this sprint result was converted to a full Grand Prix result, we'd be level on points with Lando. 41 points ahead of the next constructor, which is now Red Bull. Red Bull have overtaken Mercedes just because of that sprint performance. And doing the maths, I think we can actually seal out the constructors this race, which would be quite fitting because this was the location where we won the Drivers' Championship with Tramnitz. So Qatar has been happy hunting grounds for this team. This circuit has history already with this team that we've written in Season 3. So can we write some more by the end of this episode and seal out our second Constructors' Championship of the entire game, and our second in a row, of course, as we come across the line for P5. It's a solid first lap, but we're down to 7th now as others are coming in. Obviously, we have 2 sets of tyres to now use in this full short qualifying there. Hajar is P5 right now in the Haas, Sonoda P6. So once again, qualifying is doing a madness here around Losail. What are these lap times for some people? How is a Haas in the top 5 right now? We're down to 8th and 9th. I don't know where the Mercedes are. By the way, Piastri's P7, but his teammate, I think, is on provisional pole. So, yeah, the qualifying times are actually the discrepancy between driver to driver and team to team is just wild. There's no consistency whatsoever in qualifying, I'm finding, and I think you'll agree over the course of this season. It's just been pot luck, really. So, let's see. First sector is purple, middle green, but we've gained a few more tenths in the second sector. Crossing the line, we get up into 4th place, but it's once again Verstappen and Lawson up there. Gasly's on pole though. Leclerc only P9 and Lando's P15. What is going on? And this time, you can't even say it's a Mercedes issue because Sainz has qualified well. Sainz is P5 right behind me. So clearly the Merc has some pace around here. This is now, I think you've got to agree, just a massive bottle from Lando Norris's AI. P15 feeling the pressure of leading the championship. Oh, we asked for a miracle at the end of last episode in this one. Are we about to get it? Leclerc P9 as well. So driving as Tramnitz, it's looking pretty great, but there's still a full race to do. Let's go to the grid.
Welcome back to Qatar. There was talk of a new circuit, but we're back here once again at Losail, under the lights. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Pierre Gasly lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Lawson, Tramnitz, Carlos Sainz, and Hadjar, Sonoda, Piastri, Leclerc, and Lance Stroll, Colapinto, Aaron, Zach O'Sullivan, and Albon, Norris, Pepe Marti, Zane Maloney, and Esteban Ocon, Solov, Doohan, Bortoletto, and Jack Crawford rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me is Anthony Davidson. Okay, the start, so important. Tell us about how you ace a launch off the line.
The drivers these days, they practice, practice, and practice. They have rigs with them at the circuit where they can sit down with the actual steering wheel from the real car, and they've got lights that they react to. The clutch paddle is tailored around the driver's hands, around their fingers, so they can have optimum position before they start. So there's so much thought and effort that goes into getting these cars off the line.
If you'd asked me for an ideal grid for this race going into this episode to help us overcome the deficit that Tramnitz has, this would be as close as you get to perfection in terms of setting up this race. We're in P4. You know, fighting hopefully the same people were fighting the sprint we just won. So I back ourselves to be fighting for this first place, at least initially in the first stage of this race. Let's see how the tyre wear is. Let's see how the race pace is long term. But Leclerc down the order in P9. Lando out of the points, but his teammate's P5. So the Mercedes clearly has pace. It's just about trying to unlock it. Was there an error? You know, was it pressure, a bottle? I don't know. And Qatar, it is difficult to overtake at around here. So even if Mercedes do have pace, and clearly they have in recent races, can Lando even use that car to overtake? Because it is difficult. Let's see. I'm rubbing my hands here together in a very nice, positive manner, because I think this could be a very big race for us driving as Tramnit as we go to lights out here in Losail for the Qatar Grand Prix. Lights out, and we're underway. One more race to go after this one, and can we enter the finale in a good position with our reigning champion Tramnit? It's a good start into turn one, trying to make it a 2-for-1. We got Lawson off the line, and we've actually managed to bully Verstappen off the apex to get into second place. Gasly leads the way though. We saw in the sprint, late on in the sprint, Piastri pulled up, so the Red Bull Ford clearly has some pace in there that eventually shone through at the end of the sprint. And in the case of Gasly here in qualifying, unlike in the sprint though, all of us on the medium tyre, but Gasly loses the back end so early on. We're not even past one lap. So is the Red Bull vulnerable? Well, we've gone for it. We sensed that there was a little bit of hesitation there from Pierre Gasly, and we just went for it early doors because we need to be in this sort of position to just allow the tyres to breathe a little, because honestly, I think our best bet to win this race is going for the one stop. Last season, we tried the two. It didn't work for us. I think on F1 25, it's just not as good as it used to be, the two-stop around Qatar, as Leclerc loses the back end a little bit. So there's a lot of AI drivers a little bit on edge on these mediums already at the start of this race. So maybe tyre wear is going to be a big factor. I mean, I would welcome most of us trying a two-stop, but I just think from last season, the AI on this game, they can be so stubborn sometimes. Even when the tyre wear has been so high for lots of people this season, they're going to try and go for the one. We need to do the same in, if we want to try and get the win. As we see Sainz fighting Lawson. Sainz up to P4 now, breaking into that top four. Surprisingly, Lawson now down the order, and there's a big gap now. It's just me, Gasly, and Verstappen fighting for the top three positions. Sainz fighting Lawson for P4, and meanwhile, his teammate, the one leading the championship, that one that needs to be up there, nowhere near, out of the points currently, as we see Hadjar in the top five. Hadjar's having a blinder in the Haas as we continue to swap positions with Verstappen and Gasly. Again, not getting too panicked about losing positions. For example, here, I could have kept my foot in with Verstappen, but I didn't want to lose both of his time to Gasly, because then he can run away with it. He's definitely not going to be running away, though, now, because there is a safety car, because I think someone has retired in an awkward position. And so now we're all bunched up. But yeah, I was going to say, as we saw in the sprint, if we can stick with cars, you can re-overtake them with ease, actually, on that main straight, because the DRS is so powerful here. So it's just a case of not fighting, like, let's say in this position, fighting second place too much where P1 pulls away, breaks DRS. But that doesn't really matter right now on the safety car restart. What does matter is trying to gauge this restart as Gasly bolts, and we have timed this to perfection as we cross the checkered flag start-finish line. We overtake Verstappen, now using most of our battery, going from right to left, back to the apex, and it feels a lot like Vegas right there. We just swooped in with max aggression to take P1 immediately, but once again, Gasly's here, Verstappen's here, they're going to overtake us, we're not going to panic. Lawson even comes around the outside. We are going to make sure we don't get passed by Lawson, just because fighting three cars is a little bit too much, but I think we can definitely breeze past two of them, maybe even on the same straight. Let's see, because Verstappen also, he is flashing away, so he's not deploying battery there, and he's still making the move on Gasly, which is impressive. He's actually saved the energy for now as he stops harvesting, trying to go around the outside, keeps his foot in. Oh, it's a very impressive move from Verstappen to take the lead. Fair play. Fair play. That might be the motive, actually, is maybe mimicking him. Save battery on the main straight and get the job done after turn one. I don't know. I mean, for us, it's been working really well in the DRS zone, as now on lap 11, we've flown through this first stint. Sainz is down to P6 now, as maybe his tyre wear kicks in. Leclerc, P9 still. He qualified P9 and he's still P9. Norris, well, he's moved up 2 positions, isn't it, from P15 to 13, but you can see for Leclerc and Norris, they're in the traffic, they're in the thick of it, and they're really struggling to get past, because some of those midfield cars, they don't have the downforce, but like Williams, for example, they're just so good in a straight line. It's difficult to make a move on this straight in the same way we are on the Red Bull and the McLaren. That was a 2-for-1 pass into turn 1 on lap 12. And now we see, well, speaking of the Williams being great in a straight line, there's the case in point. Tsunoda just overtook Sainz in a straight line to get up to P6, but I bet you Tsunoda backs into Sainz now in Sector 2, being a bit slower in the corners. And Leclerc, he just got overtaken there, didn't he? Leclerc's down to P10. Oh no, it is not looking great for Leclerc. It's not looking great for Norris, but that just means it's looking extra amazing for us driving as Tramnit, as Gasly gives us a real good scrap. And for once, we're actually giving a bit of a fight here because Verstappen is right there, and also it's very close to the pit stop window. So now I'm actually gonna fight these guys a bit more, knowing that if we can just annoy them a little bit before they make the pit stop, that'll be better for us, because now Verstappen peels in, Gasly's peeled in, and we carry on because our scheduled brand new pit stop lap was lap 15. It was going to be 12, but the safety car delayed it, and I'm just going to stick with what our engineering team wants us to do, because that is the game's ideal one stop, and that's exactly what we have to do today. I'm not deviating. I'm doing exactly what our engineers want us to do in game, because that is, well, what they think is the optimal strategy. And I think around Qatar, unlike in previous F1 games, especially last year, F1 23 as well, I think here now, just stick with what the game wants you to do, because you just can't gain enough time on that two-stop anymore. You used to be able to. I think it's because now the AI, to be honest, are much better around Losail. Like, they're so on it in the corners in Sector 2, even with tyre wear, that you have to match them on the strategy. You can't make that extra stop as we come out just ahead of Verstappen, but he's on warmer tyres, remember. We've come out on cold hards, and he's on the outside. We get the elbow out just about, maintaining P1, but we were very close to losing the lead, but really glad we've kept it. Piastri is now in the fight. He's up to third, so we've got 2 Red Bulls coming at us. Lawson's still there in P5, so it's a 5-car train then, and Verstappen gets a great launch off that left-hander. He's going to send it to the inside. We have to let go of the throttle a little bit and give him the room, because I feared he was going to crash into us, and the last thing we need is floor damage. So Verstappen, honestly, has spooked us a little bit into that corner to fight this, but thankfully we're going to hold our nerve. We're going to maintain P1 for now, but clearly he's coming at us at a rate of knots. We just need to soak up this pressure, knowing that also, now that we went longer than all of them, we're going to be able to go harder on this stint later on in the race, because we've got a little bit of extra tyre delta. Norris now up to P10. Okay, this is interesting. Norris, the championship leader, into P10. 1 point on the board this will be, and Leclerc is only P8. Is there going to be a Norris versus Leclerc on-track battle between 2 title rivals? That'll be really juicy, and that's in the context of, whilst they're battling for lower points, we're fighting Piastri and Verstappen for P1 as Leclerc gets up into 7th place. He puts Tsunoda in between him. The same time Leclerc overtakes. So Leclerc and Norris are pushing so hard, they're overtaking cars at the same time on track to try and keep the same distance. You know, Leclerc trying to put cars between them as we get past Piastri. Verstappen's got away a little bit, so the next time we close up, I actually play this very tactically. What you're about to see is we've set the new fast lap of the Grand Prix. I actually let off throttle, and I stick behind Verstappen here. This is very calculated driving. I want to stick with Verstappen and use his DRS just to give us a bit of a gap behind. And look at that, lap 19 onto 20. 9 laps to go. Now we overtake Verstappen in a straight line, lose no time with each other, but we've both gained 1.5 on Piastri. So Verstappen, he doesn't know it maybe, but we've just worked as a team there to get away from the Red Bull guys, which is quite something, because only, a season ago we saw so many times Tramnitz's AI and Verstappen's AI go hammer and tong, bang tyres and whatnot. There appeared to be some sort of written law between the 2 AI drivers, but here working as a unit almost to get ahead and maintain this lead we've got, as Norris now overtakes Tsunoda. There is now no longer a car in between Norris and Leclerc. It's game on. Can the Mercedes catch up to Leclerc? Can Leclerc defend just to get 1 or 2 points on the championship leader going into Abu Dhabi? And can we maintain this first place to the end to get the max points? Remember, we were 25 points behind Norris going into the race. So if we can get a win, obviously plus whatever Norris scores, we could be right back in it with Tramnitz, and we are swapping with Verstappen very cordially, I must say. Just, you know, oh, no, you, sir. Oh, no, you. As there's no real fighting going on, because I think both of us know that we don't want to lose time with each other to Piastri or anyone behind, but there will come a point on the last lap where gloves will have to be off. And speaking of gloves off, Norris now under 1 second. Lap 26. He is there. He's going to have DRS in the last sector now until lap 27. Oh, there's a puncher. Norris is slow. I think he's got a puncher. The front left tyre is flapping about. It's going to delaminate. It's a disaster for the championship leader. Oh, my days. Oh, my day. I cannot believe our luck here. It's an absolute miracle. The championship leader has a puncher and has to come in. And we know in this game, punches for AI or players, it's RNG. After 75%, the puncher could happen at 77, it could happen at 80, it could happen at 95, it could never happen. We've had that before where we've got to the end of a race on 100% tyre wear, and then we've had it where it's punctured at 76. So this is complete luck of the draw, and Norris's AI has come up in the red. And so on to the last lap, Norris is way down in 17th place. Leclerc, I don't know what he was, like 7th or whatever, but yes, 7th place, but we're leading ahead of Verstappen. We just defended against the Dutchman as we see Colapinto overtake Gasly. So Gasly, after a strong start in this race, fell away. He's P6. Honda with a strong P45 here around Losail, but Leclerc P7, unbothered by Tsunoda, but nowhere near Pierre Gasly. It's been a bit of a quieter race for the 99 rated driver, Charles Leclerc, but you know what? He's done enough here. He's not had to do a 2-stop. He's not had a puncher, crucially. And so that will be enough for him to gain on Norris in the standings. But this is now a completely left field thing as Verstappen has another little look at us in Sector 3. But as we are driving towards maybe a race win here in Qatar, I think we've brought Tramnitz right back into it. We're going to be level on points with Norris, for goodness sake, isn't it? As Verstappen goes wide, desperate to try and overtake us, can't quite do it. And as we come through the final corner, let's not forget, this is also our ceiling, the Constructors' Championship. For the second season in a row, we win the Constructors on this F1 25 game. But, wow, what the hell? What the helly?
What an excellent performance this has been from Tim Tramnitz, who takes the checkered flag to win.
Well, they showed true grit out there today, not to be outdone by the rough circumstances, many points that came their way today. A job well done, not the easiest of days, but they walk away with a race victory.
Here comes your top three, making their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula One.
I honestly could not. If you asked me to bet on this, I absolutely would not have taken odds, because this is ridiculous. Level on points with Norris, 2 points to Leclerc, and it's all from a puncher. With an AI, we did not, you know, I've been fair play of like, oh, this is turned out, you know, beautifully. Of course it has. I would have accepted some critiques of that if we had actively tried to slow Norris down in the race, but we were nowhere near him. We were off fighting for P1. Leclerc was maybe near him, but Norris, all on his own, suffered a puncher. A stroke of luck for us has brought this right back into it. But you know the Mercedes can be a very strong car when it wants to be. It's won 3 races in the last 6 races, for goodness sake. So I think it's going to be a real Titanic scrap in Abu Dhabi. But at least it's a fair Titanic scrap in terms of the points gaps here. Level on points with Tramnitz, 2 points to Leclerc. It's game on. Guys, if you have enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. this is probably got to be the most ridiculous one to set up a finale. I honestly would not have bet on this ever being a thing, but there we are.